Welcome, everyone. We're excited that you're here for this important webinar today. And my name is Dr. Bruce Niemeyer, and I'm the founder of Admissions Architect, where we help families navigate the college admissions process from college prep, SAT and AP prep, internships, research projects, to applications, scholarships, and everything in between. Before we begin today's discussion, though, or this month's discussion, I just want to cover a few housekeeping notes so that you get the most out of this session. If you're live, I encourage you to use the Q&A feature of Zoom to ask your questions throughout. If something really resonates with you, or if you're really not quite sure how this applies to your family, just drop a note in there, and I'm going to do my best to answer your questions in the Q&A at the end. Be sure to also download the worksheets that go with today's session. Those tools are designed to help you reflect on what we cover today and to take real action after we're done. I'll also walk you through when and how to use each one of these. Also, just a reminder about our hot seat opportunity. If you happen to submit your completed homework by the end of the month, you could be selected for a selective coaching spotlight in the next month's session. And in that coaching session, I would walk you through the materials and give you tailored advice. It's really a powerful way to see how I work one-on-one with families. And of course, if at any point you're thinking, this is really helpful, but I'd like more personalized support, just know that I do offer one-on-one consulting services, and you can book a free consultation Zoom meeting with me to see if it's a good fit. The link is right inside of your course module, or you can always go to our website and schedule one there. So again, just welcoming you all back to this next session. It's really great to see so many of you here to continue this journey through the college admissions process. And whether you've been with us since the beginning, that very first session back in January when we started this group, or you're just joining us for the first time now, I'm really just glad that you're here taking the time to invest in your child's future. This month's theme is one that really is near and dear to my heart and increasingly important in today's competitive admissions landscape, and that is community engagement and volunteering. Today, we're going to talk about not just how volunteering can make your child's application more appealing to colleges, but how it can also shape who they are as a person, helping them build confidence, perspective, and even purpose. If you're the kind of parent who's ever asked yourself, how do I help my child stand out without piling on more stress? Well, today's session is designed just for you. We're going to be discussing how volunteering can provide a window into your students' values and character, how it can create a genuine and meaningful story for your student to express in their college essay and interviews, how it can really develop leadership and responsibility within them, how it can be tailored to fit your child's personality, interests, and even schedule. We're also going to provide grade level specific worksheets and homework so that your child can take concrete steps next in this process. All right, so let's get started. First, why don't we begin with connecting the dots between volunteering and the admissions process? When admissions officers review applications, they're really looking at more than just the grades of the student and the test scores. They want to admit students who are going to contribute positively to the campus community. And in that, volunteering opportunities show them who your child is beyond the classroom, what causes they might care about, how they've made a difference in the world around them. For example, a student who tutors elementary school kids every Saturday doesn't just show initiative, they're also demonstrating empathy, consistency, leadership. Colleges love to see that kind of sustained engagement. Another example, a student who's passionate about environment might help organize a local recycling drive or create educational content for their school's social media. That tells a story about who they are and what they're going to bring to campus. Admissions teams often say, we don't want a well-rounded student, we want a well-rounded class. And that means your child doesn't have to do everything. They just have to go deep into a few areas that matter to them personally. So, keeping that in mind, most high schools now require some kind of service hours for graduation, right? And while it's great that these schools encourage volunteering, I want to challenge us to move beyond that minimum. There's really a big difference between a student who volunteers once a year to fulfill that requirement and one who starts to build a relationship with an organization over months or even years. For example, a 10th grade student might start volunteering at a food pantry just to get their hours in, right? But if they stick with it, they might be invited to organize donations or train new volunteers or even run social media campaigns to promote a food drive. Now, their role has become a story of growth and leadership. So ask your student, what causes make you mad or sad or inspired? What problems would you solve if you had a magic wand? Use those emotional reactions in that conversation with them to guide their search for volunteer work that really matters to them. All right, let's zoom out for a second. Why is volunteering beneficial for teens beyond the college application? Well, community engagement really helps your teen to build empathy. They begin to understand the struggles of people outside of their specific peer group or their immediate community. They gain confidence, right? Seeing that they can make a difference, even in small little ways, starts to empower them. They also learn responsibility. So, simple things like showing up on time, being dependable, managing logistics, all of that has real value to it. They even start to develop communication and teamwork skills, like working with adults and peers and community leaders. It really starts to sharpen these essential life tools in the process. Let's take the example of a student volunteering at a senior center. They might start by serving meals, but then eventually they might end up coordinating a pen pal program between seniors and younger students. We've seen that happen. That initiative has real impact. Or a student who helps to clean up a park might be inspired later on to petition their own town for more green spaces or safer walking paths. That advocacy is rooted in action. All right, one misconception that I often hear is my kid doesn't like traditional volunteering. They're just not that soup kitcheny nursing home kind of student. All right, that is totally okay. There are so many other ways that your student can serve. Things like ongoing roles, like weekly tutoring or animal shelter help, or maybe they belong to a church youth group and are going to do outreach. Or it could be like one-time seasonal efforts, right? Organizing a donation drive or helping at a fundraising event, cleaning up after a local festival. It could even be rooted in things like advocacy or awareness. They could create an Instagram account to raise awareness for autism or design flyers for a mental health campaign in the community. For some students, they are rooted in their faith and their faith-based organizations. These faith-based types programs have things like mission trips or VBS leadership opportunities, community outreach with a religious organization. Next, it could be something like an independent project, things like, launching a fundraiser or writing a children's book on inclusion, or maybe building an app for a nonprofit. Let me give you an example. A student who happens to love coding might want to build a website for a local animal rescue, or a photography student might offer free portraits to families at a homeless shelter. Encourage your child to bring their unique skills to this table and figure out what they could do or might be passionate about. All right, helping your child to find these right fit volunteering opportunities is all about really asking the right questions. What causes do they care about? Asking them what causes they care about. Asking them what types of work make them feel energized. Ask them, do you like working with people or are you more of the behind the scenes kind of person? Ask them, do they prefer consistency or flexibility? Let me give you an example. An artistic student might paint a mural at a school or might design materials for a nonprofit. A quiet, analytical type student could help at a food pantry and do inventory tracking or even help to manage a donor database, right? Where they're behind the scenes, but still making a meaningful impact in their own way. So think about your child's specific interests, what their strengths are, what their personality traits are, and use these as a guide to jumpstart this kind of conversation. This month's worksheet is really going to help them to explore these kinds of alignments. All right, many parents will then ask, where do we start, right? How do we even start this process? So here's a few suggestions of places to start. First, school clubs, right? Things like Key Club, National Honor Society, and other types of service clubs often have partnerships. Look to those partnerships to see where your student could go deeper or do something different that resonates with, who they are and where their interests lie. Libraries, recreational centers also offer many different volunteer opportunities for teens or programs, or especially types of different things that they can do in the summertime. If you don't have that, maybe going to websites like volunteermatch.org or justserve.org. And here you've got two searchable databases where students can put in their zip code and their interest and find out, what's out there in their own community. Local places of worship, we talked about faith-based types of things. Here often they run food drives, there are outreach opportunities and support programs that are already sort of structured where students can kind of insert themselves and maybe do things independently to elevate the work that is happening in those organizations. Also, think about your own network as a parent. Ask other parents in the neighborhood or coworkers where their teens have volunteered. And finally, here's a tip. Have your student make that first contact. Them calling or emailing an organization themselves really helps them to build confidence and responsibility. And it's also a truth that they can put in their college application that they actually initiated and went after this kind of work. All right, so let's talk about strategy. Volunteering doesn't just make your student a better human, it makes them a more compelling applicant as well, that we've been sort of alluding to in this process. Colleges really look for compelling stories for personal statements and the supplemental essays that are a part of their application. They want to see alignment between activities and the student's future goals. They also want to and look for authentic character through the kinds of service that your teen might be doing. So, just as an example, again, a student who is applying to, let's say, nursing school, who's volunteered with a hospice program, has really a powerful mission driven kind of story that they can write about. Or a future environmental science major who leads something like a stream cleanup and documents wildlife for local parks brings real world experience then to their application and into the classroom for any prospective university. These stories really matter. They don't have to be dramatic, they just need to be real, consistent, and meaningful. All right, so what is your role as a parent here? Your role is not to find the opportunity for your student, but to guide them and support them and be a cheerleader along the way. So, here are some strategic steps that you can take to help. You can share your own experiences with giving back, right? Tell them what you did over the course of time when you were their age, right? If you don't have that, what others did, right? Help them to reflect. Like, ask them, what did you learn? What would you do differently? Also, celebrate their efforts, not the hours that's long, but actually what they're doing, and cheer them along on that. Also, model service. Bring them along to different things that you're doing in a community project or, donations that you're dropping off. Maybe there's something that your employer does that you can get engaged in, and also by default, engage your teen in that process. All right, so just an example here, a parent who volunteers at a coat drive could ask their teen to help organize donations for that, right? It's small exposure that really could spark larger interest for your student. All right. So here's what we're asking students to do in the coming month, right? Ninth graders, they're going to complete the volunteer values matchup worksheet. And in that, they'll be identifying three local or virtual organizations that they'd like to learn more about. Again, just an initial step. 10th graders, they're going to complete the purposeful volunteering resume worksheet. And in that, 10th graders we're asking them to reflect on their past service experiences and what they says about them and what they would like to do deepen in the coming year in relation to those. Also encourage your child to take ownership in this process. It doesn't really need to be perfect. It just needs to begin and to start. We say that, in all of our sessions, just start, do something. All right, next month, just to kind of, whet your appetite about that. And also to remind you that we switched the date of that. So do be aware of the August meeting. And in that next month, we're going to be diving into essential skills for your teen and for life and communication, right? We're going to cover public speaking and active listening, how to write effective emails to teachers and mentors, practicing interviews and self-advocacy skills. And this is going to be particularly valuable session for students who think they might be interested in an honors program or may have an interview in their college admissions process or simply just, need to start thinking about how they would function in a leadership role. So make sure they're there for this sort of next step in the process for your son or daughter. As always, again, as a reminder, you can submit your child's worksheet for a chance to be featured in our hot seat in the next session. Or if you are ready for more hands-on guidance, remember that we offer that one-on-one strategy sessions and we'll work together with you to do things like align academics and activities with admissions goals, create realistic testing timelines, explore summer and enrichment opportunities, all in a more intimate, and personally directed kind of conversation versus these group meetings, which are just sort of general in nature, but don't speak specifically to your individual teen or your need in this process. So if you are interested in that, I just remind you to not really wait until 11th grade to think about that as a strategy. Really, the families who start early with this are the ones who really open up most of the doors later. So if you think that this is something you might want to do, I certainly encourage you to reach out and see how we can support you in a more specific way. Also, before we move into that sort of recap of what we've been talking about over the past couple months and a Q&A, brief Q&A session, I just want to highlight a couple of specific opportunities that we offer at Admissions Architect that might be a great fit for your families, either immediately or to keep in mind in the future. The first are our research and internship coordination. These are highly customized programs designed for students, typically at the end of 10th grade or in 11th grade, who are really ready to take a big step forward in demonstrating academic depth or professional initiative. And we match students with a research mentor or internship opportunity that fits their specific interest areas. These are real world projects guided by professionals, such as conducting science literature reviews or designing social impact initiatives, or even working with a professor on a policy brief, or finally, creating something like a business case study. It's that one-on-one, goal-driven, and absolutely transformational activity when it comes to competitive college admissions. So just know that if you are shooting for a competitor, or you think your team is going to ultimately shoot for competitive admissions in that type of a college, know that about 40% of admitted students for most of those schools have this as a part of their background. So it really is a game changer for students who are ready and want that option, and why, we have integrate that into the services that we offer so that our students can be the most competitive applicant that they can be specifically for those schools. So if your student's ready to begin developing that strong interest in something, whether it's finance or political science, engineering, or even things like urban planning, this might be a really good long-term goal for them, or maybe they're ready for it now. So, but for now, for those of you that are early in the process, your job is really to help them to start exploring so that they can kind of grow into these opportunities. Also know that, even through the application processes, this is not something that your student is ready for. We also offer it to current college students as well. So if if the student started to develop an interest in something, but it doesn't really sort of mature or, become firm until they go into college, we can help them with them at that time versus in this high school period. So also, if you know of somebody who might benefit from these experiences, who's currently in college, please pass this information along to them. The other is our SAT prep that we offer, which is a comprehensive test prep program. It includes expert tutors who are matched to your students' learning style, a personalized study plan based on diagnostic testing, as well as access to ACELY, which is an online software platform that simulates full-length practice tests and tracks their progress in real time. We're talking to that about you now because really it's a good time right now in the summer months where students can really focus without the distraction of daily homework. And even 1 or 2 sessions per week during the summer months can really make a huge difference in the fall when they're testing, right? And the scores that they get and helping to just reduce their anxiety about these tests. So links to all of these things are available on our website, and you can also always book a complimentary consultation call to see if these are a right fit for your team. So finally, just a reminder again about that hot seat admission submission. I know I keep sort of, pounding the drum about that, but we really love to get some real live questions and work from families so that we can talk about those and share with one another, what those individual questions are, right? It does two things. It helps people sort of see, what is possible, but it also helps individuals know they're not the only ones sort of grappling with those kinds of issues or questions, either from their team or from the family in and of itself. So please, I encourage you to share your work so that we can all learn from that. Also, just wanted to do a quick recap and zoom out and see how far that we've come since January in this process. Every session that we've had in this group really builds on the one before. So January, if you remember, we explored what college current admissions landscape, what colleges we're looking for, and why it really matters to start early in this process. In February, we focused on the topic of self-discovery, where we assisted you in thinking about how you help your student understand their interest or their personality traits and their emerging strengths. In March, we then dug into the topic of academic skill building and creating systems for time management and organization and even effective study habits that, because it's important that they start that now so that they can continue to grow that effective traits and skills and carry that into college so that that does become a block or roadblock for them in their pursuit of their undergraduate degree. In April, we unpacked really the power of extracurriculars and how you can help your child find meaningful activities that really align with their story. In May, we brought this all together by showing how summer can really be a launch pad for curiosity and growth and long-term college readiness. Uh, and then in June, we reviewed the ways that students can systematically explore their interests and to start really understanding and connecting the dots towards their actual college major that would give them access to certain career pathways that they're interested in. And then, again, what we covered today adds yet another layer, another month of information, another month of activity. And it really is, I think, working, across those of you that are participating and that are being here in this group because you are giving your student something that most families are missing, right? Which is a head start based on strategy and not stressing out over this process. So if your student has been completing the worksheets or making small mindset shifts that we've been covering in each of these months all along the way, you're already building momentum here. And that momentum is gold in this process, right? So please, keep up that process. These are short informational sessions with short, brief, actionable items in the worksheets to help you move along or help your team move along in this process. So keep that up. All right, so since this is a recording, we won't have a live Q&A session, but I encourage you to send us questions, right? And we could review those in our next live session. And really, this is about your time to share your wins or your insights or other things that you're hearing for families or things that just spark new ideas for somebody else, right? So please submit that information to us so that we can cover those with one another. All right. And just sort of a reminder, I'm always here to be your partner in this journey. I want your child, your teen to not only get into college, but to grow into that confident, capable young adult that we are all looking for right along the way. So I thank you for being here today. Please feel free to submit your questions. I have that here. Also, if you think that we can help you in some particular way, reach out and let's have a conversation to see how we might be able to better support you. So, again, thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you in next month's session as well.